Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network here on a Sunday afternoon. It is Sunday reactions time. Shouts out to our guy, JD Piquel. It's something we started back a couple of weeks ago. Okay, normally we are live Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We get that local hour, okay, talk a lot of Georgia football, 8 to 9. Then we get that national hour, talk all things college football, 9 to 10. Started up a Sunday reaction show, okay, on Sunday afternoon leading into that NFL slate for you guys a couple weeks back. And it's been something you guys seem to enjoy. So let's get after it again here after a tremendous weekend of college football, particularly that late night slate. That 7:30 slate last night was absolutely bonkers. Two football games that we expected a lot of fireworks out of, and we certainly got them. Let's start with what I thought was one of the more important football games of the weekend, not only from a national perspective, but particularly from an SEC perspective. Got our indications of what the SEC West was ultimately going to be this weekend out there in Tuscaloosa between Bama and LSU. Bama actually obviously comes out on top 42-28 in this football game. We expect a lot of fireworks. Like I said, we got them. I think first and foremost, we should give credit. We could talk about the defense. We're not going to talk a ton about them. Let's give them credit. Held LSU to 28 points. But a lot of that was due to what Alabama was doing offensively and what Alabama was able to do offensively. I think a lot of credit goes to Jalen Milroe. He's obviously seeing it much better. 15 of 23, only 8 incompletions in this football game. But I think most importantly, didn't have a turnover in this football game. And when you have that in a game that you expect a lot of offense, that is one of those when you're in an expected shootout, right? When you're 28-28 at the half, when you're 21-21 at the half, you know you're limited, not only limited possession, but every possession counts. And you almost feel like you have to score every time. That pressure to not turn the football over and that ability to not put the ball at risk, when that was something we had questioned about him up until, a couple games ago at the quarterback position. Hey, God kind of stares it down. God kind of might put it at risk. Dude has turnover-worthy play. Nah, he played a pretty flawless football game. At the quarterback position. This football team was always national title talented, right? We always knew that. The question was always going to be about the quarterback position and Tommy Rees's ability to get his legs involved. But the thing about Milroe's performance last night, and Daniels especially, I felt like we learned a lot about the quarterback, running at the quarterback position without the design run. Like, hey, Milroe's ability to now, hey, we're not going to bounce outside the pocket. As soon as we see crease, we're gone. Like, as soon as we see grass, we're going to go. Because what I noticed about that game last night, and what I think a lot of people have noticed about Milroe when you watch him, he's not only the fastest, he's the twitchiest football player on the field. When he sticks his foot in the ground and when he decides, I'm going to go, like I'm going to run right now, when he decides that, he's the fastest human on the field, and it's noticeable. Like his twitch and explosive nature is palpable on the TV screen. I couldn't imagine what it looks like and feels like on the field with him. There are people when he makes plays that you can see that they're like stunned by how fast he is. Not only that, I felt like he ran with some force as well Saturday night in that football game as well. So, he's huge. He's like 6'2.5". He's like 230 pounds, and he's extremely fast. His legs have been the difference maker in the red zone for this football team as well. They pretty much avoided the red zone for a large portion of Saturday night's game as well because of what he was doing with his legs. He had 4 rushing touchdowns, I believe, in this football game as well. So that, again, you don't even have to really, they did some design run for him, but you don't even have to really like have some massive scheme. He is like, his legs run standard pass routes, make sure no one's in the middle of the field, okay, and just go. We're going to attack outside the numbers because his arm strength is phenomenal. By the way he holds the football is mind-boggling to me. I don't really understand it. He's like got his index finger on the nose of the football. I don't know. I would imagine a lot of the time he's nose down, but he throws a tremendous deep ball. There's a lot about him throwing the ball that I can't really quantify. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me in terms of like mechanics, how he holds the ball. It doesn't matter. It comes out of his hand extremely well, and he throws the deep ball exceptionally well as well. Now, let's flip on to the other side of the football. Can LSU buy a defense? And it doesn't really matter because it's too late now. That was my only thought process. And Brian Kelly knows. If you listen to his, it was funny. They have these like little sideline interviews with coaches now in between the quarters. I guess they think it's the NBA, but they've had it all year. I guess they think they can talk. These guys are doing quarter interviews. It's weird with sideline reporters. I feel so bad for the sideline reporter because you're getting a coach that's in like a critical moment, and he obviously don't want to be talking to you. Like, it sucks for that person to be doing those. But anyways, Kelly's sitting there and he's like, man, every possession's like super vital. We basically have to score. Man, like, they go out the next possession and he puts it on the ground and they fumble and Alabama gets the ball back. But no, I want to start the LSU analysis with this. I did think it was a targeting. I know we get a lot of national folks in here during this hour. Two things. It's leading with the crown of the helmet. It's not what strikes the player. All right. When you lead with the top of your helmet, that's kind of targeting. All right. And the other thing is like when we talk about launching ourselves at a human, go back and look at the photo. The video. The definition of launching yourself to me is when you come off the ground and your toes are pointed. Okay. You look like a rocket ship. You look like he was launching himself. Okay. At the quarterback. And the reason he landed on top of the quarterback like he did was because he had launched himself at the quarterback. You see what I'm saying? So I thought it was a target, but that doesn't really matter anyways, because whether or not it was a 15-yard penalty, whether or not Dallas Turner doesn't play the last 7 minutes, that wasn't the biggest impactful portion of the game. The biggest impact of that play was the fact that Jaden Daniels didn't finish the remainder of the game like himself. And I thought that we were robbed. We were robbed of the last 7.5 minutes because of a football play. Whether or not it was a targeting doesn't matter to me. The result of the play was no more Jaden Daniels for the rest of the football game, and that sucked. That did suck. But here's the reality. LSU's defense could not get off the field. They couldn't get off the field. It didn't really matter. Whether or not they scored with their possessions in the fourth quarter would have made this a maybe a potentially overtime football game. But the reality is the defense couldn't get off the field. The second half time of possession was absolutely drastically shifted. In the second half of that football game, LSU only had the football for 7 minutes. 7 minutes of 30. 7 minutes of 30 minutes. They had the football, or Alabama had it the rest of the time. The missed field goal drive late in the football game was 10 plays. It took 7.5 minutes off the clock, and you knew it was going to be that way. You knew it was going to be that way, that LSU could not get off the field, and that was our analysis coming into the football game. We thought that, hey, LSU's offense is great. Bama's defense is great. LSU's defense is suspect. Alabama's offense is a B+, and it looks like they're rounding out to be about an A-. This was a tremendous, tremendous football game. 318 yards on the ground between both of these quarterbacks. And I think, again, whether or not it was targeting, you took Jaden Daniels off the field, and that's what sucked. That's what sucked for the rest of us in the college viewing world. So that's now 3 losses for LSU, and that's kind of that threshold line for the Heisman Trophy, which I guess we can start the discussions about that right now. I don't know what you're going to do with the Heisman Trophy. I guess we still got 3 weeks to decide it and a conference championship weekend to decide this. But, I mean, Michael Penix wasn't the reason that they won the football game out there in L.A. It was because of the running game and because of USC's putrid defense. But we will talk about that one right here, right now. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, reviewing, firing off in the chat, all that good stuff. I know controversial take right there for Alabama fans. It was targeting, but again, it didn't matter, targeting or not. Jaden Daniels is off the field. That was the difference in that last 7.5 minutes of that football game. Additionally, on top of that, the turnover, right? Creating the turnover, getting the strip sack, and getting the ball back, but also being able to control the ball up 14 points, or I think it was up 7 points on your last 14-point scoring drive. So, yeah, there you go right there. Massive, massive win for Alabama. They're in the driver's seat out there in the SEC West. And just to kind of preview it, if it is going to be Alabama, Georgia in the SEC championship game, I kind of like Georgia's chances to win that football game right here off rip. And we'll have plenty of time to analyze that football game. But I just believe that, hey, the type of football team you don't beat when you're just going to say, hey, we're going to line up and out physical you is the football team who's won back-to-back national titles being a physical branded football program. So, yeah, that's kind of me. Here we go. On to USC and Washington. Man, easiest action I had all weekend was the over in this football game. I believe it was set at 76. It cashed in the third quarter. 52-42. Washington comes out with the win on this one. 94 points scored in this ball game. It was so much so an NCAA 14 football game. If you've ever played one of these, which a lot of people have, if you've ever played one of these, this was classic case of hey, we're just gonna trade off scoring possessions here, and if you throw a pick or if I throw a pick, we lose. If you get a stop or if I get a stop, magically we win. And that's exactly how this happened. And it doesn't matter when this happens. Okay. It's once the tone is set for the ball game that we in a shootout, that we're in one of these NCAA video games. Once the tone is set, it does not matter when the turnover happens. It does not matter. It can happen in midway through the second quarter. In this ball game, it happened right before the half. Caleb Williams gets strip sacked. Washington picks the football up. They score 2 plays later. Boom. 14-point swing, basically. Right? Because you turn it over, and we're assuming every possession is a score at this point, because it basically felt like that. If every possession is a score and you turn the ball over, you have lost 7 points that we are automatically mentally giving you. And not only that, you give it up too. So it's a 14-point swing the moment you put the ball on the turf in this football game. And again, it doesn't happen. It doesn't matter when it happens. All it takes is one. And it happened right there before the half. Washington scores. Now, I know USC comes back out in the second half, and they're like, hey, our defense might show up. Boom. They get an interception, red zone interception, tipped ball. They pick it off. It's the only time they stop them the rest of the football game. They hold them to a field goal 2 or 3 possessions later. But no, this was about Dylan Johnson. He goes for 256 yards on the ground. Washington, one of those football teams that, hey, if you're gonna play light boxes, which is what USC was doing, if you're gonna play light boxes, then we're just gonna continue to run the football. There was multiple times on like 3rd and 9 where they run the ball because they know they're going for it on 4th down, right there in that football game. And this is classic USC defense. I want to try to give enough credit to Washington in this analysis. They did a good enough job staying balanced. 256 yards passing, 256 yards on the ground. Offensive line played well. Defense showed up when they needed to. Pass rush showed up when they needed to. But man, this USC defense is historically bad. This USC defense, my final note on this one is a, quote, disgrace to defensive football. The amount of times that they have people misaligned, the amount of times that they have people blowing coverages, the amount of times that they have zone defenders just staring at quarterbacks instead of actually floating to their zone, the amount of times that they just look completely confused is just, it's bonkers. It's bonkers to me for a person. I would imagine Alex Grinch makes $1 million a year, right? He's a Power 5 coordinator at one of the biggest programs in the country. Let's say he makes $750,000. It is the biggest waste of money right now in college football. I have no clue what they're teaching, what they're coaching, how they're coaching it, because it's noticeable on tape every single weekend. It's like, what in the world are you doing? Okay. They've given up 500 yards of total offense 4 times this year. And they've only played 7 Power 5 opponents. So more than half the time against a Power 5 football team, they're giving up half of a century on the offense, or half of a thousand on the defensive side of the football. They've allowed 40 plus points, 40 plus points in 5 of their 8 games against Power 5 football games or football teams. It's amazing. It's amazing. And here would be my thing. Here would be my thing if I were, because it's an NFL discussion now with Lincoln, right? That's what we've all boiled this down to. Everybody's talking about whether or not Lincoln will go to the NFL. We've given up whether or not Lincoln will figure out defensive football. But if I'm an NFL decision maker, right, and I'm deciding whether or not Lincoln is going to be the head coach of my organization, I would look at that defense and I would say lack of institutional control. Lack of organizational control for him to have allowed that for so long, because it's been like 4 years at this point. We've watched the entire USC regime get boiled down to they can't stop shit. They got the best quarterback we've all ever seen. They can't stop nothing. They can't stop a nosebleed. Lack of organizational control is what that boils down to every single time it happens. So there you go. The NFL stuff, yeah, it could have been leaked from an agent, whatever. The chat's hitting on this. The NFL, no NFL team wants him. You say that. We say that. All right, we think that. And then our man's Cliff Kingsbury goes, 7 games below 500 at Texas Tech. For these same reasons, by the way, no defense. For these same reasons, goes below 7 games below 500 at Texas Tech. Here's 4 years in an NFL run, 3 years in an NFL run. We say this. No NFL team would sign up for this. And then an NFL team drafts a quarterback and tries to figure out the quarterback position. And it's like, hey, Lincoln knows offense. So it happens. It happens every single year. Every single year, the NFL teams hire a known OC to come be a head coach. So there you go. Texas survived. K-State. I got a question for the chat and a question for the comment section. How do we feel about going for 2 in this situation? The old OG adage is, overtime, game on the line, home team, play for the tie, or play for extension of the game, right? Play for overtime, play for continuation of overtime. If you're the road team, you play for the win. If you're the lesser talented team, you play for the win. So if we're playing the OG adage, OG intel on this, you would say, hey, go for the win like K-State did. Now, one thing I don't like about this newfound, and I don't think it's newfound, this is college football analysis over time, but I really, really have not disdain, but I dislike love the idea to go for 2, don't love the play call. Guys, do you know where it's really, really hard to score points? The red zone. It's really, really hard to score points in the red zone. It is. The box gets limited. There's that back line back there. Okay. Defenses use it. They know you can't run back there. Kirby said, hey, you know that they don't award points for people landing with the ball back there, right? It's an extra defender back there. It's really, really hard to run the ball back in that area. Okay. Because we know that it's hard to throw the ball. So we add bodies into the box. Okay. It's a hard place to score points. So it's a hard place to call plays for as well, particularly in that moment. I don't love the decision, don't like the play call. One or the other. You know what I mean by that? So yeah. Anyways, I don't love that adage. But shout out to the Texas defense. I want to say that first and foremost. We got that second start, Malik Murphy, that we expected in this football game. But they turned it over 3 times, 2 interceptions and a fumble did Texas, and they still managed to score 30 points, or only allowed 30 points. Listen to this stat. K-State had 1 scoring drive in this football game that started in their own end of their field. I think they scored 4 touchdowns, okay, or 4 scoring possessions in this football game, and they had 1 scoring drive that started in their own end. I believe it was a field goal on that possession as well. So Texas's our defense is exceptional. They have dudes. Now, this is a K-State football team that was extremely balanced coming into this football game. Top 15 in total offense, top 15 in total defense. They were getting it done. This is not your grandfather's K-State that just leans on you, okay? This is a K-State football team that can actually score some points. And this Texas football team showed up and made a K-State team one-dimensional who never gets made one-dimensional. K-State is a very balanced to the core. They are vanilla ice cream. They are no name brand awareness. They are straight just going to give you what you came for every single time, except for Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. They had 28 carries in this football game for 43 yards. That's 1.5 per. That's not K-State football. All right, that's Texas making K-State do what K-State doesn't do, which is not run the ball well, okay, and lean on a passing game. That's not K-State football. Texas made them do what they didn't want to do, and that's good, sound defense. Now, let's give you a little bit of Quintel here. All right, Quinn Ewers sounds like he's going to be back either next week or the week after that. They play at TCU, at Iowa State, Texas Tech to finish out the season. They should handle that, which is going to make that Big 12 race pretty interesting because now Oklahoma has to play little brother spoiler. So we'll see what they do. Michigan dominated. Congrats. We will see what they're all about offensively next week against Penn State. You dominated an inferior opponent in Purdue at 2-7. But this is what your season will be from now on. Okay. Every single national reporter before and after the game that I listened to, when asked about Michigan, just not only talked about sign stealing, but now is floating the idea that the Big Ten's actually going to bring down some type of punishment in season, unprecedented stuff. Pete Thamel kind of mentioned it and kind of teased it on game day Saturday morning. But this is Michigan football now. Y'all will play a game. People will talk about how well you looked and how dominant you looked. And then we'll get back to this scandal. And that just sucks. Okay. You'll play Penn State next week. I would imagine you put them in an ever-loving box. That's a 31-7 football game written all over it. Okay. That's what it looks like to me. 31-7 right now. Giving you Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon analysis. Haven't looked at it a lick. Haven't looked at the balance sheet. Don't know what it looks like from a matchup standpoint. Okay. Statistically. But I'll tell you right now. 31-7. Michigan will win that football game because that offense from Penn State is anemic. Okay. But that's what it is. And that sucks. Absolutely sucks. Florida State, we'll talk about you tomorrow. You handled your business. Congratulations against Pitt. It was ugly, but you handled your business. Make sure you hit that thumbs up like we're giving Florida State a thumbs up. Florida State, thumbs up. Good job right there. Oklahoma State winning Bedlam for the last time. Now, a lot of my euphemisms and a lot of my analogies, I don't do them a ton. We don't do a lot of those, Colin Cowherd-y type segments. Every once in a while, the openings will sound a little bit like Cowherd back in the day. But we don't do a lot of these euphemisms. But when we do, they apply to my life. I am a little brother. Okay. I'm a middle child. I have an older brother and I have a younger sister. So I didn't get the opportunity to be a big brother to a little brother. All right. I got to be little brother to big brother. And let me tell you something about playing video games as a little brother. When you're 30 months younger than your older brother, you're going to be toting some ass whoopings in everything that you do. Okay. Because he's not too old to beat your ass, but he's not close enough to you to where you're going to get him. You understand me? He always going to be bigger, badder, and better than you. All right. He's 30 months ahead of you. So your entire childhood, he's going to feel it's okay to whip your ass, but you're never going to be able to get him. All right, and that's in everything. That's in physical combat. That's in video games. That's in everything that wasn't mental intellect. All right. My big brother was toting some ass whooping around the house. He was just ready to hand them out. And if you've ever been in this situation, okay, when it comes to anything, the moment you get them, done. The moment you get them, that's the last time y'all was getting it that day. Y'all playing video games. Some bitch, you could be 0 for your last 28. You could be 0 for your last 30. The moment you get them, that's it, done. I'm done playing for today. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. We ending on a dub. We not playing again. That's exactly what happened in Bedlam, and I'm so happy for little brother. I am so happy for little brother, Oklahoma State, who has lost like 75% of these football games, okay? I think over time, over history, they just been getting dubbed up by big bro, all right? But the fact that they got this last one and that they get to take their ball and go home for little brothers everywhere, I'm so happy for you. I am so happy for you. I'm so glad that you get to have this. How about them Cowboys? I feel so glad for you. 144 total snaps. 144 total snaps in this football game. That's insane. That is insane. It was classic Bedlam. 80 total offensive snaps for Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon, going to be a tremendous NFL football player, I believe, on first and second down. Don't know what it looks like on the other downs right now, but the fact that dude, he's big. I mean, he is really big, like 6'1.5" big, looks big in a huddle big, okay, as a running back. And that's rare nowadays. He's going to be living on Sundays for a while. 137 hard yards from OG, Ollie Gordon. But, hey, for that quarterback, Bowman, for him to stand in there and chunk it 42 times against an Oklahoma Venables defense and not turn it over, that's some impressive shit. That's some impressive shit right there. Let's move on to Georgia and Missouri. We're already 28 and a half minutes in, so make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rating, and reviewing, all that good stuff. So, yeah, let's get on to it. Georgia and Mizzou. Where's that Missouri defense been? You know, I'm just curious because that was the Missouri defense everybody thought we were going to see. Y'all returned 10 of 11 starters this year. Y'all are old, like everybody else in college football. Y'all are old, physical, okay? Darius Robinson, the number 6, the defensive lineman, he's going to play on Sundays for a long time, okay? He might be a first-round draft pick, honestly. And Missouri doesn't have a ton of those defensively over time. I think the best defensive player out of Missouri in recent times, the linebacker, Nick Bolton, that plays for Kansas City right now. But outside of that, I mean, not historically, we finna put first rounders out. I think Darius Robinson might be one of them. You listen to anybody talk about that dude in the SEC right now, they're like, bro, scary. We called him Equate version Sean Oakman. Like, Mans is terrifying. 6'6", 285 pounds, ain't a lick of fat on the dude. Okay, he is a really good football player. That is a good football team. Okay, I could do without Eli Drinkowitz's behavior on the sideline. I know it's wild. I don't need you to be a professional. I don't need you to not show emotion. But man, really upset every time everything doesn't go exactly his way. But is a really good football coach. So I think that's where we should start with it. And this is an interesting defense from Missouri as well. Georgia came into this football game they've allowed 6 sacks all year. They give up 3 in this football game. So they blitzed the shit out of them. That's how they did it. If you're asking how'd they do it, how'd they have success, they blitzed the hell out of Georgia on Saturday and for all 4 quarters as well. But I think we can talk about Missouri's defense. We can talk about, hey, they ran the ball successfully, and we'll get to it. Did Missouri. Georgia's offense looked stagnant at time, but, showed up when they needed to. All that good analysis. Dude, this game was won on Monday. This game for Georgia was won on Monday. The decision to put Kamari Lassiter in the slot to cover Luther Burden was one of the most impactful winning coaching decisions made on a Monday, made on a Tuesday, whenever it was made in game planning that we've seen this year, in my opinion. Okay. And I know I watched this football team closer than I watched the other ones. I was at this football game. But I mean, guys, Luther Burden had 3 receptions for 54 yards. I think it was. 3 receptions for 53 yards. Okay. If you take out the 1 reception for 39 yards and a touchdown that they had on the opening drive, that was against Dalen Everett, by the way, he had 2 catches for 14 yards. This guy's going to be in New York or wherever for the Blitnikoff Award, all right? And Kamari Lassiter was the better number 3 on Saturday. I know that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around, all right, particularly NFL draft analysts that are just now figuring out about Kamari Lassiter, all right? But this is a football player, guys, who has been an absolute strap out there at corner, all right? and he's a traditional corner, and he's going to play Sundays at corner. He's going to be a first-round draft pick potentially at corner. And they said, hey, we're going to play him in the slot against a wide zone football team. Now, what does that mean? That means that corner's got to come in, all right, and he's got to play in the nickel, all right, and he's got to be prepared to come down and set the edge if need be, if asked to do so, all right? So we're going to ask him not only to play a different position, we're going to ask him to play off man, all right, in the nickel, but we're going to also ask him to come down and support the run if need be. What a tremendous football game from Kamari Lassiter. Just, again, one on a Monday, all right? And we kind of left you a tea leaf, and shouts out to Tyke Smith as well for being ready when you're called upon, because this was not your game, son. A 6-year, a 5th-year senior, we're going to come to you on a Monday, Tuesday during the game plan, and we're going to say, hey, 2-3, you have played a phenomenal season this year. You have played so well in pass coverage. Elite. You've made yourself some money on Sundays. But this Saturday, we need you to sit. We need you to sit when we ask you to sit, and we're going to ask Kamari to go in there in the nickel and cover that guy. Because not that we don't think you can, but we think he really, really can. So we're going to ask him to do that. Julian Humphrey, we need you to step up, and he did. Coaching. Every single year, we pop it up. Every single time we turn the tape on, we're like, damn, he altered his game plan. He altered his ID. He changed who he was. You should take note. You should take note, other football coaches. Hey, we got meat on the bone left for you guys. All right, Clemson, Notre Dame didn't talk about it. Shane Beamer. We got you. We got you tomorrow. Ohio State and Rutgers, we didn't talk about it. Ole Miss, my Lord. Oregon, my Lord. Pac-12 after dark. I mean, they was super late after dark out there this week. Hey, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button on your way out. I appreciate you. I love you. Hey, subscribe as well. We'll see you.